max headroom at the start of the broadcast. Oh, good. Greetings, campers. So at least I got that 2021 down. Now maybe people have realized that these are the new videos. Sorry about that. I think that's called Dane Bramage. All right, we've got updates. Had some interesting phone calls. I wasn't getting emails and texts today, like very intermittently. And the problem is, I had turned off the notifications on the thing this morning. I never turned it on again till just now. And so the only time I got them is when I actually punched in and then they appeared. So, oi. Anyway, let's see. First, let's talk about Dean Deeney. Just so you all know, Dean Deeney is not Gene Genie. Dean Deeney is a pretty muscular guy who rides a pretty muscular Harley. Just so you know. All right, we'll see if we could get him on the show or a picture of him. That's a shout out. Hey, Dean. So I call him Dean Deeney because I think that's cute. He did too. Big guys don't care if you call Jim Jimmy or John Johnny. Second, had a great chat with Frogville. We talked about morning glory seeds, pyramids, and lizards. Fascinating. We'll discuss further another time, but if you want to know about morning glory seeds, well, actually in candles and light and two paths that you can go by in those pyramids, go look up morning glory seeds. Maybe it'll give you a little more insight into the expansive consciousness of that discussion. Third, had a good chat with George, and now we'll do our updates. So, I was pretty fired up all day about this whole thing going on. I was quite enthused that the Capitol building was stormed. We'll say, what would be a better word? It wasn't stormed. I had a good word before. But the public, the citizens, made their presence known. And these mealy-mouthed, two-faced, treasonous alleged representatives were sitting there behind their masks, hiding as they steal our democracy, telling us and gaslighting us that everything's fine and that's just the way it is and you have to get over it and move along, right? Move along. And then people, they were shouting, I don't know if you've seen it, and then they got a little squirrely, you could hear the background. They didn't actually invade the floor space of the house. They were up in the balcony area behind the camera, and the shouting got louder. And then you watch these paunchy little wimps literally running from their seats in the house during the midst of their lies and their gaslighting propaganda crap, denying reality, spitting in your face, telling you it's raining, and they literally jiggled and juggled and ran to the backstage door to get behind the speaker's podium. And then the Capitol Police instructed them to go to their offices and take shelter and hide. They literally said hide, and they told the staff to hide and to be quiet and turn off their communications so they couldn't be discussed, okay, or discovered. So this is the way our representatives react when the people they represent object to their representation. They hide. Curious how that works. Remember something. The Constitution was created to protect the people from the government, not to protect the government from the people. It was a pathetic display of cowardice from these alleged representatives. Now, in the Senate, I'm putting the first link as C-SPAN. I was watching on C-SPAN on the TV, and then Fox News, and then CNN to get the different feed. Fox News is where I started, and they had, what the hell's his name? Mitch McConnell, the head of the Senate, announce and lecture us that in order to have our democracy survive, we must reject these objections and count the electoral votes, right? There you go. So it's interesting. I'm going to have to deal with these comments in a minute, right? Some important points to go over with you. So it was disgusting. It annoyed me to the point where I have to call their office. And I'm thinking something of along the lines of, you are a fraud, you are a liar, you should be resigned. How dare you talk about our democracy while your wife's shipping company is representing China? And when he's suggesting that we should ignore this and not even look at it, how much influence, ask yourself, did the Chinese government have on his decision to present that argument? I ask you. Okay? So he needs some strong words. Maybe he should be told, why don't you go work for your wife's shipping company in China? And you can be a lobbyist, Mitch, but you can't be a senator. Piece of shit. But don't tell it. Straight, FJ. How do you really feel? Disgusting. I got a couple of texts from the engineering department. They were equally furious. I responded back with basically that last line. Yes, sir, buddy. Then, here's why Fox, they're the best. Useless. Garbage. And they were pitching like how McConnell is right, and we must present and protect our democracy. If you allow fraudulent voting to happen, how in the hell is that protecting a democracy? Wouldn't a democracy be counting the votes and to allow the electorate to be heard? Sure. Or is it better to defraud them, lie to them, gaslight them, and say, it's raining? Know what I mean? Vern. So, while Schumer, my favorite, takes his stupid mask off to speak to the Senate, which I thought was shocking, because I've seen him mumbling behind that friggin' mask for months now, as he slumps over and lectures us, right? What does he say? I don't know. Stupid Fox News puts on yap yap, while the second-in-command senator is giving his spiel, and we can't hear it. That infuriated me more than anything, but Fox is basically pitching and approving of what McConnell just said, right? Update here, campers. Bear with me. So I flipped over, and I got pissed off. I jumped over to C-SPAN, and I'm listening to McConnell. Actually, I grabbed it on the phone first, and I threw it on C-SPAN. So my mom could hear it too. She said, well, I want to hear Schumer. And she hates him, and I hated him since he became a congressman in New York. He annoyed the crap out of me then, and he annoys me more now. A true American patriot. Oh, and by the way, just as a parenthetical, I got a very interesting email from McConnell last night talking about the inability for Cam to be president or even on the ticket because she is not a citizen born or naturalized, and the question is she was born in Oakland, but she had, I'm trying to remember the reasoning, her parents hadn't been naturalized, and I'm not sure when, what that reasoning is. So if she was born there, if the parents weren't naturalized or citizens, then is she a citizen? But I guess if we have born there, she's born there. And that's that whole argument that they've been making over the last few years of anchor babies. So I think I just answered your question, McConnell, in my own alleged mind. But what I found fascinating in the discussion and the line of reasoning was prior to 1967, I believe, a very good year, what happened? There was no dual citizenship allowed in the United States. So here's a question for you. Who changed that? Even if they allow dual citizenship in this country, they certainly should prohibit that from government officials in any capacity in government. You can't be a dual citizenship. what do you think, campers? That was my parenthetical. Now, so then we listen to Schumer, who gives this lofty speech, reversing reality. Amazing. And the whole media spin now is this is an insurgency as opposed to people defending their Constitution and their rights, and that Trump was instigating a riot, inciting a riot with that speech. And now we have the whole issue of false flag. Okay? Now, the second link is Ted Cruz's objection, which it did get that far. And I believe this was this in the House or in the Senate? Let's see, Pence was there, so it had to be in the Senate as the Senate pro tem, or maybe it was the joint session. This is a 5-minute clip, and Cruz was good. I think you'll like it. It's the second clip. Now, back to the first clip is C-SPAN. This is very cool. It's their webpage. Along the top are 3 links. One is House, one is Senate, one is Joint Committee, right? You can hit all 3. But if you hadn't caught the stuff before they shut down the proceedings, they actually stopped it because of the public involvement. I guess they wouldn't have done well in Shakespearean play days, right? They delayed everything. So right now it is 8:40, we'll say, 8:38 in the evening on the 6th. It is Wednesday night, dark. And they have reconvened the House, and they're continuing their debates now, and presumably the Senate is doing that as well. And they're seeking to count the electoral votes. Now, there will be objections. There was an objection to Arizona. People say that Pence folded. Now, I spoke to Webb, and as again, I'm sorry, but there's a lot to cover. And it appears that Pence has folded. And the word from there, and he was hanging with Vandersteel, that her people from in the White House told her that he's basically not going to object, and that he told people that he has to count those votes, which says to me he's compromised. And I said, hey, get the word to him to reject the slates from the disputed states. That's got a good ring to it. That allows him to play Pontius Pilate, wash his hands of the matter, because there is enough evidence, insinuendo, there's a new word we made, and questions and irregularities that have been not even officially presented, but have been presented in the various official hearings in the various states, that if anybody was watching would be like, wow, these are a lot of questions, that he can reject them. I don't think he will. However, if he's compromised and he rejects them, he washes his hands, throws it to the House, and if he's guilty of any crimes, Trump could pardon him, couldn't he? There's a 2-step argument not many people think of, but there you go. I'll give you a well now, all right? So, he'll probably fold because he's another spineless, 2-bit politician who somehow managed to get promoted to governor, and somehow, I guess Mercer wanted him to be Trump's vice president, and gave him Bannon and Kellyanne and Breitbart, and Mercer wanted Bolton, that, big Israeli buddy of Netanyahu, to be Secretary of State up front. That was pushed back on him and said, no, man, he's not going to get approved. He's why Bolton got put in as NSA guy in the National Security Council, right, for the advisor for the White House. And again, that blew up, and Trump called him names. And everybody is like, why in the hell is Trump hiring this buffoon? Why in the hell did Trump hire 90% of his people? Wait, there's more. So, that's Pence. We'll see how he does. He still has to make his move, and Trump still has additional potential moves. Now, after the public came in, they shut down the chambers. We had issues. Evidently, a woman was shot in the house, I believe, the Capitol building, and it appears she was shot by Capitol Police. Now, I happen to have a little video clip of that from Twitter. It's a little graphic. We don't see her getting shot, but we do see her bleeding. Got the gunshot, and there's 2 clips. Check it out. It's the 4th link. But before we get there, we have the false flag question. So apologies for the order. But here's the shot of her there. And look at the cops in the background with pretty heavy gear, pretty heavy rifles. Did they have that presence when Antifa was destroying property and threatening to actually rip the fence down and storm the White House? While they were burning down the church, while they were ripping down statues in the park right in front of the White House? Did this mayor of that Bow Wow Bowser, did she call in the National Guard? Did she issue a curfew? No. She's called in the National Guard on this. She has issued a curfew, which I think is 6 o'clock. And I don't know. Personally, I think the big crowds should tell them to go stuff it. But Trump did do a message, and the message was, hey, and I have it here. I was trying to throw that in. I'm going to have to remember to throw this in at the end. Okay? It is a clip from Epoch Times. They have the link and the clip, and I'm jumping out of order here. Twitter suspended Trump. They suspended Trump's account because he had 3 tweets that were like blocked. So evidently that's the Twitter rule: 3 tweets and you're blocked until he removes them. But he's suspended for 12 hours, and he will remain suspended until he removes those tweets. Now the tweet is basically him telling people to go home and be peaceful. But he's saying, we lost the election. No, he said, we won in a landslide. It was stolen from us. What these people can do. You can see the little video he puts there. So Facebook and Twitter decided to remove them because they're dangerous. And now Twitter shuts down the president. Now I have an idea. This is more rocket science that nobody else could think of. Why doesn't Trump nationalize Twitter? Hello. He could nationalize the oil companies. He could nationalize the media. Matter of national security. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, campers? Well, now, nationalize it. Say, guess what? You're now owned by the federal government. We have a new Reverend Meoff. What's his name? Jack. If you didn't see this morning's video, I really hit a lot of stuff, and we even had some fun doing it, telling stories and laying in some other interesting material. It's curious how I was talking about Mitch McConnell was our leadoff batter this morning, and good old Mitchie stepped up. I'll tell you, on that C-SPAN link, the one that's at the top of the list, what you can do is you can watch the earlier hearings, and you could listen to McConnell and tell me this isn't disgusting. And if it doesn't make your blood boil, or if it does, feel free to pick up the call. And you can paraphrase me, or you can use your own loving, delicate words to describe your thoughts of this treasonous, fraudulent, subversive. Because we can't threaten our democracy. And he kept saying, it'll spiral downward. What if by objecting and demanding an investigation, it spirals upward, up, and away from the swamp? Okay. Now, interesting stuff, and I'll get back to what George and I discussed. Had a long debate, argument with Lynn, who comes from a background as, we'll call her not an Army brat, but a State Department brat. Grew up overseas. And she said, look, man, I have watched these color revolutions in other countries. This is a color revolution. I said, we agree. We know, right? Now, the bottom line is, she said, those people charging into the, what are we calling it, the Capitol, they were Antifa and or agents. I said, were they Antifa or were they just operatives or what? She says, either or, same difference. Now, I said, so it sounds like a false flag. Now, I did see video of men going in fatigues, and to me, it looked like these were militia people, patriots, and they smashed a window, and they used like a police plastic shield, and they smashed the window, and a few jumped up on the sill. They cleared the glass on the sill, went in. It was clearly they were trained, okay, on how to enter after smashing a window, right? And they went in fatigues, some small backpacks and whatnot. These guys knew what they were doing. They struck me as legitimate people going forward, trying to get in and be heard. Now, Webb said to me that he got video of, I don't remember, was it 15 or 20 people that had orange hats on. And he said he said these were the provocateurs. Now, the orange hats, because MAGA hats are red. I said, right, these are orange. He said, yeah, these look like ex-cons with tattoos all over them and meth heads, and they just showed up, and they pushed through the barricades, and he said, and uh-oh, and evidently they went in too. So there's your little team with their orange hats on. Now, so maybe we had both in there. So this is to instigate and create the media pitch to blame patriots for doing the violence, for doing the damage, and acting out. And again, this is planned. And the way this is going to go is they will do lockdown. They will demand more security, more isolation for themselves as they separate themselves from the public to be safe. Didn't hear any of that stuff while Antifa was going on. And Black Lives Matter, right? While buildings are burning, churches are burning, statues are being wrecked. No National Guard is called in by the mayor. They actually, what should we say, venerate them by naming a street after them and painting this crap on the street. But now they need to bring in the National Guard. They need to crack down because Americans are speaking up against the misrepresentation of their fundamental rights. Just my thoughts, campers. Now, Trump did tell people to go home. So I think Sonia Kay said, "Oh, Lord, I can hear a song for this evening." I said, "Really? What song?" You know what song I'm thinking? Of course, it's a Zeppelin tune. It must be called "In the Evening." So now darkness has fallen. Let's see what comes out at night. It's another Johnny Winter or Rick Derringer. They only come out at night. Now the Antifa animals will come out. And now, since they were escorted in yesterday by the D.C. police, why is that? Where's an investigation into that? Or are we going to be told that didn't happen? But at any rate, let's see what damage is done, and they will blame that on the Trump rally. Now, my first feeling earlier today is when that, what was the word? Not an invasion, into the Capitol. But the question is, my feeling was more people will come tomorrow, right? So anyway, that's what Webb told me, and Webb told me that Pence is going to fold. And I said, pass the message up. Give the guy an out. This way it's not him objecting, he's not accepting, and hand it back to the House. What do you think the odds are on that in Vegas? Slim to none? I don't know. Anyway, so Jeffrey Prather, who we interviewed on the channel 5 months ago along with George Webb, is having a booming channel, evidently down in Arizona. And this is, Vilma sent me this link. And this is called The False Flag in D.C. It's about a 9-minute video. You listen to the first few minutes. He is definite about being definite. And it's definitely a false flag. And definitely this is happening. And definitely that's happening. And he gives some good advice if you're there or doing any kind of a rally or an operation. He points out, he said, look, you're in enemy territory. This is swamp. He's suggesting groups wear armbands to identify themselves and change them every few hours. You know, whether they're stripes or stars or red or purple or whatever. I would say do something unique so your group is identifiable as your group from close and long. And maybe hand signals and maybe passwords and codes or things like that, and change them around in locations. He gives some good tactical advice here. Check it out. I didn't even finish it. I jumped over to check this Twitter thing. So this Twitter thing is very annoying. So Prather is the third link. The woman being shot on is from Twitter. That's a tweet. There's actually two tweets. You got to click on her page there. And then the first video is right, you can hear the gunshot. The second video is the people trying to care for her. And one of the crowd is saying there's an active shooter. Certainly looks like it's one of the cops. So how come the cops didn't come to give aid to this wounded person? And why was she shot? There's other stuff on this, no doubt, and we do have other video coming in the next day or two. We've got to work on this. All right. So the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is Trump makes statement to the Capitol protesters. This is where he calls on them to go home, and there's the video that he put out that got him shut out of Twitter and got him shut out of, what the hell is the other one? Was it Facebook? Or Twitter and YouTube? I don't know. I forgot. I guess it's Facebook. But fascinating. And at the end, he says, go in peace. Now, the question I have is, does he know that... Oh, and by the way, he also evidently called the National Guard in down from Virginia to come down into D.C., which I think is a good play because it's showing his consistency and desire to maintain law and order. But he told the protesters to go home, right, and be peaceful. So now, whatever's there is going to be dealt with. Let's see if the violence explodes. Let's see what happens tomorrow. But in the meantime, our House of Representatives and Senate are going to have their debate. They're going to go in the middle of the night, and my bet would be they will probably count the electoral votes and pass it and say, okay, it's now certified. In the middle of the night, like a good banana republic, right? Interesting, right? Somebody said Pence called the National Guard. Epoch Times says Trump called it. But you want to argue over it? I don't. They're coming down, and I'm sure Trump did. I don't think Pence has the authority to do that. Right? Since when does the secretary do it? Also, evidently, Pence unfollowed Trump on Twitter. So his true colors are coming out. What did we call him before? What's this we shit? We don't speak French. I think it was a two-bit politician. Yeah. Heart of Texas. The young Armed woman shot and killed by the Capitol Police on Wednesday has been identified. 14-year veteran from San Diego who served 4 tours in the U.S. Air Force at a high level. Okay, that's interesting. Now, how did you conclude that this person was unarmed? How did you conclude that she was shot and killed by the Capitol Police? Do we know that? Or is that just assuming that? I don't know who shot her, do you? Okay, good. Okay, fine. So listen, campers, I'm not debating with who called the National Guard. I don't give a shit. The bottom line is they're coming in, and in my opinion, they should be. And the point is that if they're there, it is to secure it, and they should have been there, and they were there eventually in Washington, D.C. So I think that's a good deal, right? So we'll see. We'll see how long they stay. We'll see what else happens while they're there. All right, now, I had added a link this morning at the very bottom as an afterthought, which I didn't mention, and being that it is Christmas time, and it is Epiphany, the 12th day of Christmas, and we wish Thea Helen a happy birthday. The Trans-Siberian Orchestra, which has really been a bit of an annual kind of a Christmas thing here on the channel. So I had to throw something in. And he says in here, at the beginning, I'm not sure what the first word is, so it's the blah, 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 turn it up. And it was kind of the vibe this morning about this rally. So let's see how it goes. But you guys should enjoy this. It's an instrumental jam. And it's got a Christmas flavor with a good kind of a boogie-woogie jam to it. And it starts at 33 minutes and 11 seconds. It's the whole album. And the whole playlist is right there in the show notes. I'm going to put the link. Wait a minute. Wait. So that has the link where he calls on them to go home now. Then what the hell is the one that I'm trying to put in? There was another one. Maybe that doesn't have the video. I'll check. If it has the video, then I'm not going to put in the other one because it's the same. It's a short video that got his Twitter banned. That was, I think it's the same video, but this is by Twitter banning him. That's what, it was a different article. I'll check. This might have the video in there. In which case we can end on the Trans-Siberian Orchestra on an upbeat mood after Trump says leave in peace. So he may be protecting the protesters, and that would be good too. Who knows what awaits? I don't know. Love your thinking, love your comments. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment and subscribe if you hadn't. I'm going to check in and see what's going on. That C-SPAN link is the first one here is excellent because you have 3, House, Senate, and the joint hearing. And you can go and scroll around that page and find the earlier testimony to really get a belly full. Just make sure you haven't eaten too shortly before you watch. All right? And of course, I thank the patrons for their support. I did get some emails out. I owe Carl a call. We did an email, Carl and Kim, hey. And I'm sorry, I had this stupid thing turned off. And I actually did manage to get in the sun for 15 minutes. And I did participate in an important board meeting call over here dealing with that massive insurance thing on the roofing thing, if you guys have been paying attention. And there were questions about it, which did get resolved exactly as it was designed, and that's good. So they had their long meeting, and I jumped in the last 10 minutes, asked 2 questions, long compound question. I said correct, and they said correct. Then I followed up question, correct, correct. Said great. Glad to see we got to the bottom of that quickly. Thank you. Not too much of a smartass, but we had to move the ball forward. One of the guys said I should be the president over there. My mom said, yeah, but you know what? He's not easy to get along with. That's not true. He's very easy to get along with. Present your argument in a reasonable fashion and don't ask idiotic questions. And, you know, but they're not idiotic. They're just uninformed. I'm talking about this board thing, you know. But it got resolved. So now we're getting new groups of attorneys to come in and sue the insurance company on a contingency basis. That's great. And if they don't lose, if they don't win, they don't get paid. So the board is not worried. They were, but now they're not. It's good to know that they're watching their money closely. That's their job. Wild tangent. Oh, no, don't ask her about boards. Or what was that other group that was part of that whole fiasco, Eric Holder's operation? We should put you on the channel, run that story. That's a great story there. Wild tangent. There's a smiling face for you. All right. So the PayPal link is there for contributions, and I thank you. And I did say I'm going to get those thank you notes out, and I'm going to bring our Patreons up to speed. Or patrons. I get confused. All right. Jackie D. Ciao, ciao. Marie Drysdale. I haven't seen you in ages. Welcome back. I think the Patriots are set up big time. Problem is they couldn't get the violence they wanted from them, no matter how much they intimidated them. Oh, I don't know. I think there was their potential violence there. How about this for a little theatrical word painting? Right? What if 2 or 3 big guys walked in and said, hey, Congressman, would you come with us? And they walk him out and say, you need to step out of your office. We're removing you. And they bring him or her to the top of the stairs outside where the crowd is waiting. Are you getting the visual? We're painting this. I'm thinking the Roman Colosseum kind of crowd, gladiator pit. And they say, now remove your mask so we can see you, so you don't hide while you steal our rights. And then say, now, the citizens here that you work for are a little concerned and angry at the fact that you are not protecting their constitutional rights. So I would like for you to explain to them why you're doing that. And they would like to express to you how they feel about this. And then in dramatic Hollywood fashion, you'd throw them down the steps to the crowd and see how that ends up. And then go and get the next one. This is the way they should be thrown out of office. Now, all the Democrats, oh, and this is another point, even on C-SPAN, they are spinning this like she has all the Democrats on. This is Greta. I was going to call in, but I'm going to wait till tomorrow. Washington Journal. And let's see if we have real people calling or are they plants in there. But it seemed to me to be terribly biased that everybody was a Democrat and they were like trying to play the victim. And one idiot from Texas who was, I don't even know his name, I never heard of the guy, a congressman, is like, we have work to do. We're just trying to do our job. So that's what the concentration guard said too. Concentration camp guard, right? We're just doing our job. So he's got to do his job, not question whether or not this election was a fraud. His job is to certify these votes. And he can't figure out why people are enraged. A couple of people I spoke to today said, there's a lot of very stupid people out there. And I said, yep. And there you go. So all the spin is being put out how the Democrats are purporting to be all of Congress, and they are the victims with this terribly violent insurgency. There was really no violence except, as usual, done by the police to an innocent woman. There's lots of tear gas being sprayed. There's lots of flashbangs being popped. But do we hear the media screaming? Oh, wait, there's more. The media screaming about how chemical weapons are being used against peaceful protesters, the way they were being used against Antifa while throwing Molotov cocktails, burning police cars, smashing windows, hitting people with 2x4s, and ganging up on people and stomping them in the streets. No, we didn't hear that then. Liz, no. Interesting. Then, when I was flipping around, I flip over to, C-SPAN had really no coverage. They just have their static camera in the House and the Senate. Then I was over at Fox News, and they were giving some coverage, but they pissed me off because they were yammering over the floor speech by Schumer, which I wanted to hear what this buffoon had to say. Then I jump over to, where did I go? Oh, CNN. We had CNN and CBS. CNN was in a mild panic and crisis mode, going, oh, and we have video footage outside of a crowd, and they have breached the police line. They have breached the police barrier, and they're on the steps. They're actually on the steps of the Capitol. Now, there were a few people on the steps, not the crowd size that was on the steps of the Supreme Court when they were, or was it the Senate, when they were having the Kavanaugh hearing. Did they breach the police line? Were they worried about that? No. But here, they breach the police line. The police have to retake the steps. And they'll be there, and they're setting another line up top. So everything is the police, the police, the police. And little Greta on C-SPAN talking to these other guys about the breach of the police line, and the police have to get law and order. All these Democrat bullshit artists. Little Greta doesn't say, well, how does this fit with the Democrats' plan of what? Defunding the police. Does anybody ask? CNN? They want the police to do their job? No. How about if the police call in sick? The police say, I'm sorry, we have to leave now, Congress, because we've been defunded. How about if they said that to Mayor Bow Wow? Right? They've been defunded because Black Lives Matter is sprayed on the street, and I don't know, we mentioned it this morning. Let's see. The iPhones and the sneakers all got smashed and grabbed, called looting. Those stores presumably were paid for by insurance. Then those same companies contributed massive monies to a multinational corporation running them. So why isn't Black Lives Matter being sued by the cities that received the damage because they've got the deep pockets? Does this constitute a RICO claim? Interesting question. I had a couple of interesting conversations when this started with an excellent RICO attorney up out of Washington, and that's what we were looking at, but he got pulled back into something else pertaining to a company he was running or he was inside counsel for. He didn't have time to do it. An interesting thought. I think that's a nice, juicy, low-hanging fruit, attorneys in waiting. There you go. Act blue is why. That's a coherent, dangling participle. Just saying. Frogville. There you go. I don't know if you heard the beginning, man. I was talking about what? Our discussion of morning glory seeds, pyramids, candles, light, two paths, and lizards. And I told people they should go look up morning glory seeds, and then they'll understand. We can discuss more later. Let me see what you're saying here. Orchestrated, frame up a patriots wall, them secure on the full coup. Yeah, exactly. And now they're accusing Trump of, what's that word? Inciting a riot. And they want a criminal investigation. Let me tell you something. These assholes are beyond belief. But let's see what else is coming, if anything. And if not, Trump just wanders off to go play golf. And we get stuck with Operation Warp Speed. And stuck was an intentional word. Stuck with Operation Warp Speed and Biden. Interesting. On that disgusting note, I will urge you to listen to the Trans-Siberian Orchestra. It'll put you in a better mood. Thank you, campers. FJ out. I'm going to hang out. Maybe I'll come back late tonight, but I think we're off schedule. So that was Anti-Puff. Anti-Puff. 2 words. Flame on. All right. Yep. Jacqueline D., you're still here. All right. Hey, Greta. Yeah. I'll hug my mom. I don't want to hurt her, but I took Piglet for a walk. And in fact, I was going to do a video from out there. It was like sunset. And there was a pond behind me with a little tree. So I was thinking George would do a shot like this. But then I'd have to figure out how we could get Piglet in the frame. And he's like only a foot high. So got to get him to chase the birds. But while we were out there, the birds did do their call from like 2 holes away. So I was like, oh man, don't go chase the birds because I don't want to chase him. All right. We'll see you all later. Blake Larson. Later, man. Okay. We'll see you all. Thanks a lot. Again, like, share, subscribe, thumbs up, comment, and what? Subscribe. Don't forget to support the channel. We'll see you all later. Bye for now. Cheerio, violinist. Cheerio, pip, pip, and all that other rot. Excellent. We don't have any reports in from England. I'm wondering what's going over there. Are you in 5-stage lockdown? Holy shit. All right, we'll be back later. A lot to cover. Wow. See ya. Bye for now. The Battle of Evermore. I was thinking in the evening, and they only come out at night. Let's see how this plays. Bye for now.